What's up my peeps, it is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with the Authority coming out, Triple H, Randy, Seth Rollins, and Kane. Triple H goes ahead and talks about the main event, and while they're talking, the Hell in a Cell is hanging above the ring, and Triple H promotes Hell in a Cell, and then Seth Rollins goes ahead and talks. And at some point, Triple H calls Seth Rollins Mr. Money in the Bank, and Seth Rollins says he likes that moniker, he likes that nickname, but then he says, how about a new one? The Undisputed Future of the WWE. And then right away you see Randy kind of, I guess, not liking that. So then he grabs the microphone and eventually he says that his Hell in a Cell match is going to be the main event of Hell in a Cell because it involves him and John Cena, who fought for a decade, and they've been in the company for more than a hot cup of coffee. And then eventually, like Triple H, to avoid Seth Rollins and Randy fighting or arguing, he says, you know what, you're both right, both your matches are main event matches, he says, because people really want to see Seth Rollins destroy Dean Ambrose, and also because the John Cena and Randy match is now going to be for the #1 contendership, so the winner of that match will get an opportunity at Brock Lesnar's WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So then Randy looks happy, and then Triple H goes ahead and says that he knows that Randy, Seth Rollins, and Kane will all make him proud, tonight in their match and also at Hell in a Cell. And then that's pretty much it for the opening segment. Afterwards, it's a 6-man tag team match, Sheamus and the Usos versus Stardust and Goldust, as well as The Miz. But The Miz goes ahead and tells Damien Mizdow that he's giving him an opportunity, and he says, go ahead and, take my place in the matchup. And then Damien Mizdow's like, really? Really? And then The Miz is like, yeah, really, really. So Damien Mizdow goes ahead and replaces The Miz in the match. So it's now Damien Mizdow and Stardust and Goldust versus Sheamus and Usos, while The Miz went ahead and stayed on commentary. And in a surprise win, Damien Mizdow actually picked up the win for his team by rolling up Sheamus, and he got the 3 count. And once he won the matchup, The Miz was all screaming or, yelling, oh, I won, like he won the matchup. So after that, we get a backstage segment with Triple H and Randy is talking to him about, the championship opportunity that he's going to get at Hell in a Cell, and goes ahead and talks about how he's going to beat Cena and all that. And then Triple H informs him that Seth Rollins was actually the one to think about the idea of making his match against John Cena championship match. And then Randy kind of looks surprised, and then Triple H just tells him, yeah, Seth Rollins, was just looking out for you. So then Randy says, he's going to go ahead and find Seth Rollins and thank him personally. And then AJ Lee faced off against Alicia Fox in a non-title match with Paige at ringside. And towards the end of this match, Paige and Alicia Fox started fighting, or at least pretending to fight, just to distract AJ, which it did. And then it allowed Alicia Fox to roll up AJ for the 3 counts, making it the second match where the manager actually gets the win against the champion. So Damien Mizdow got a win over Sheamus, with The Miz, getting an upcoming match against Sheamus for the championship, and also Alicia Fox getting a win over AJ with Paige, soon to be getting a title match against AJ at Hell in a Cell. Following that, Randy approaches Seth Rollins, and he thanks him, but at the same time he tells Seth Rollins to stay out of his business. And then Seth Rollins tells him if by some miracle he manages to beat Brock Lesnar, then the future will work itself out, and then he raises the Money in the Bank briefcase, kind of signaling that if he does beat Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins is going to cash in. Randy tells him, yeah, the future will work itself out. And then after that, Randy goes ahead and goes to the ring. He cuts a promo on his match against John Cena, and he also makes fun of the Kansas City Royals, saying that they'll never win. And then John Cena comes out. John Cena calls Randy stupid for a number of reasons. He says, yeah, if this was 2002, then yeah, I might agree with you that they won't win. But at the same time, 2002 was the last time you were relevant. And, they exchange words. Eventually, Paul Heyman comes out. Paul Heyman goes ahead and brings up the fact that in 2002, the class of 2002 superstars, or up-and-coming superstars, were John Cena, Randy and the Beast Brock Lesnar, who beat The Rock for the WWE Championship. And now in 2014, Brock Lesnar is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And then he talks about the matchup between Cena and Randy. He says that Cena can't get past Randy. Eventually, Cena goes ahead, and it looks like he's about to hit the Attitude Adjustment on Paul Heyman, but then he decides not to, so he just, I guess, sets Paul Heyman down. And then Randy turns Cena around and hits him with an RKO out of nowhere. And even Michael Cole says it on commentary. He says RKO out of nowhere. And then Paul Heyman goes ahead and laughs. And Randy tells Paul Heyman, get out of the ring, or, after you. So he tells Paul Heyman to, get out of the ring, and then he'll get out too. But when Paul Heyman goes ahead and tries to get out of the ring, Randy turns him around and hits him with an RKO as well. Afterwards, Rusev and Lana come out, and it's a matchup between Rusev and Big E. The match was about as long as their first pay-per-view match, but also just like their first matchup on pay-per-view, Rusev won the match with the accolade when Big E tapped out. After the match, they cut a promo, or Lana cuts a promo. I mean, Rusev talked a little bit, but it was mostly Lana. And I noticed Lana broke her accent. She broke her accent like 3 times during the promo. It sounded like she just forgot about her accent for a while. So, anyways, they cut this promo, talk about the Big Show and all that, and then Lana tells the crowd to please rise for the proper red, white, and blue flag, and they're expecting the Russian flag to drop, but it doesn't drop, and then we see the Big Show on the Titantron laughing, and instead of the Russian flag dropping, it's the US flag dropping, and then Rusev and Lana are raging, and then it looks like Rusev is about to pull down the flag, just like Big Show did to the Russian flag, but we then see like a US soldier come out from the crowd and try to get in the ring, I guess, to attack Rusev, but the security is holding him back, and then Rusev hits him with a super kick, and then the medics check on him, and Rusev and Lana just leave. And then after the commercial break, we saw that the Big Show helped out the US soldier during the commercial. Big Show pretty much calls out Rusev. Well, first off, he said that he was going to take care of Rusev at Hell in a Cell, that his 15 minutes were going to be up. But then he says, you know what, to hell with it, come on down to the ring right now and let's fight. But Rusev doesn't come out, so Big Show says, alright, then I'll, go back there and look for you. So then Big Show goes ahead and goes backstage, and he asks somebody, where's Rusev's locker room, and he points him to Rusev's locker room, and then Big Show kicks the door open. He goes in, and nobody's there. Rusev isn't there, Lana's in there, so I'm thinking, alright, so once he turns around, Rusev's gonna attack him, but no, he turned around, Rusev still wasn't there, he wasn't, in front of the door or anything. So, Big Show just left, and that was it for that. We then saw Dean Ambrose watching See No Evil, and then John Cena goes ahead and sees him watching it, and he's asking him what he's doing. And, he just tells him he's watching See No Evil, preparing for the matchup. And then Cena's like, what? You're having a movie night in preparation for a matchup? And Dean Ambrose calls John Cena Superman, and he calls himself Batman, and then Ambrose says that a handicap street fight is his specialty. Cena asks him, what's the plan for tonight? Ambrose says, just go ahead and punch them, and if they're dead set on taking us down, let's take down as many of them as we can with us. And then Cena is like, alright, sounds like a plan, and then he calls Dean Ambrose more like the Joker, and then Dean Ambrose says, why so serious? And that was it for the segment. And after that, it was Brie Bella versus Summer Rae in a one-on-one matchup, and Brie Bella won with her facebuster finisher. And then we see that Nikki Bella was watching the matchup backstage, and she's pissed off that Brie won. After that, we get Dean Ambrose coming out to the ring, and he's got something in like a bag. It looks actually like a body, and he takes out whatever's in the bag, and it ends up being a dummy of Seth Rollins, like a puppet. Kind of like a life-size puppet, not really life-size, but a pretty big, dummy puppet, whatever. And he places it on a chair, and then he proceeds to make a bunch of jokes, a bunch of puns, and, he goes ahead and tears the dummy's hands, and he grabs like a hammer, and he smashes the dummy's head, and he goes ahead and grabs a screwdriver, and, puts it in the face of the dummy. And, the dummy is, it's a dummy that looks like Seth Rollins. It's got the beard and the hair. And pretty much he's doing what he wants to do to Seth Rollins, to that dummy. And then he says that, you know, he's gonna tear Seth Rollins' testicles or whatever, but then he's like, oh, but I forgot, you know, you sold your testicles to the Authority. Eventually, Seth Rollins interrupts, and Dean Ambrose right now has like a drill in his hand, but Seth Rollins still gets in the ring. Or actually, before he gets in the ring, he gets on the apron, and he was about to get in the ring, but Mick Foley's music hits a big pop, and he gets in the ring, and then so Seth Rollins also gets in the ring. And then Mick Foley goes ahead, talks about Hell in a Cell. He says, you know, he came here to visit an old friend, pointing at the Hell in a Cell up above. And then he goes ahead and talks about Ambrose and Rollins' upcoming matchup at Hell in a Cell. He says he's envisioned this matchup a couple times before, and whenever he's thought about it, in most, you know, cases, he sees Seth Rollins winning. So then Seth Rollins is all happy, and he's like, alright, you finally say something good or whatever, or something that makes sense, and he starts, you know, to trash Mick Foley, and Mick Foley then says, you know, he says the key word there is in most cases. This is Hell in a Cell, and Ambrose wants to tear your face apart, and Hell in a Cell gives him, you know, the tools necessary for him to do that. And then he goes on for a bit. He also talks about, you know, their Shield days, and even at some point Ambrose tells Mick Foley that, you know, if anybody out there gets him at least just a little bit, it's Mick Foley. And at the end, you know, Mick Foley just leaves, and then Ambrose ends the segment by saying that Seth Rollins is going to be waking up in a hospital bed the morning after Hell in a Cell, asking himself if it was all worth it. Rollins then backs away, and Ambrose grabs a steel chair, and he's about to hit Rollins, but Rollins rolls out the ring, and then Ambrose grabs the mannequin and throws it onto Seth Rollins, Joey Mercury, and Jamie Noble, and that ends the segment. And then Dolph Ziggler took on Cesaro in a non-title matchup, and Cesaro actually won the matchup with a regular uppercut. It wasn't the uppercut where he throws his opponent up in the air and then hits the uppercut. Dolph Ziggler went for the super kick, and then Cesaro grabbed his foot, and then he turned Ziggler around and then hit him with an uppercut, and Ziggler sold the uppercut pretty damn well, and then Cesaro covered him and won the match. And then we see Randy, Seth Rollins, and Kane, as well as Triple H backstage, but Randy and Seth Rollins are arguing, they're yelling at each other, and then Triple H says that's enough, and then he says, you know, these two gotta get on the same page. So he says that Kane is in charge for their matchup. He's a general, so Kane also yells at them to stop, you know, yelling at each other. And then he says that tonight, you know, they need to get on the same page so that they can give Ambrose and Cena a taste of hell. Afterwards, they show a video package for the Wyatt family, and they also announced that on the pre-show for Hell in a Cell, there's going to be a Mizdow TV segment. That's right, Mizdow TV, and the special guest is going to be The Miz. So Damien Mizdow is going to host the show, or host the Miz TV, or Mizdow TV, and his guest is going to be The Miz, and also that Paul Heyman is going to be on the kickoff panel. And then after that, it's time for the handicap street fight main events. John Cena comes out first, followed by Dean Ambrose, and then, of course, their opponents, Kane, Randy, and Seth Rollins. Now, when it comes to this match, I thought this was the most entertaining part of the show, specifically towards the end. And just to give you guys a couple highlights of this match, you had, you know, they used steel steps, they used steel chairs, they used tables. Kane hit Ambrose with the steel steps when Randy was holding Ambrose so that Kane could hit him. You had Seth Rollins throwing John Cena headfirst into a steel chair that he put in between the turnbuckles. And also, Ambrose at some point in the match, he like brought out a table, but Kane shoved his head against the table before Ambrose could even, you know, set up the table or anything, and the table kind of broke. It didn't break completely, but you could see that it was slightly broken once Kane smashed Ambrose's head on it. And then they brought out another table. Cena brought out the other table. He set it up in the corner, and eventually Kane, when he was a legal man, he grabbed Cena and he threw him onto the table, and the table broke. And once he did that, Ambrose was on the outside, and Kane hit a big boot on Ambrose so that Ambrose wouldn't get in the ring. And then Kane started signaling for the Hell in a Cell to be, you know, lowered down. So Hell in a Cell starts getting lowered, and Ambrose is down. And in the beginning, he's like outside of the cell area, so if the cell would be lowered down, then he wouldn't be inside the cell. But eventually, he got under the cell so that once it lowered, he was actually inside the Hell in a Cell along with Cena and the others. The others didn't see that. So anyways, they were attacking Cena, and eventually Ambrose, he gets in, he gets on the apron, and Cena tags in Ambrose, and from that point on, Ambrose was on a roll. He beat up everybody. He hit a dropkick on Seth Rollins, who got on the apron. He hit a dropkick on him, and Seth Rollins went flying into the cell. And then he bounced off the ropes and hit his clothesline on Randy. And then he went ahead and grabbed, I believe, 2 kendo sticks from under the ring. And he went ahead and started beating up Randy with a kendo stick. And then after that, he hit an elbow drop on Randy with a steel chair. So Ambrose pretty much used weapons more than anybody else in the matchup. And then he even beat up Kane with the steel chair. And then he threw Randy on the outside of the ring. And when he did that, there was a table on the outside. And that table was upside down, and the table stand, or the table legs, were up. So they weren't down, but they were actually up. So what happened is, when Randy fell on the outside, that table leg almost like went through his neck or something. And Randy looked pissed off when he fell, because he was almost about to, that table leg was about to hit his neck. So thankfully, it didn't hit his neck, it didn't pierce through his neck or anything. That was a close one though. But anyway, so Randy grabs the table and he just throws it and he pushes it. And then Rollins goes ahead and gets thrown over the top rope as well onto Randy. And then Ambrose hits a suicide dive on Rollins. And Randy then grabs Ambrose and he shoves him headfirst onto the steel post. He puts him back in the ring. But in the ring, John Cena hits Randy, or at least he attempts to hit Randy with the Attitude Adjustment, but Kane goes ahead and grabs Cena for a chokeslam and hits him with a chokeslam. And by the way, Cena is probably the best, he's one of the best sellers of the chokeslam. I see a lot of people getting chokeslam, but they don't go high up, like they don't jump high up. But whenever Kane hits a chokeslam on John Cena, it's always a nice looking chokeslam. He always, goes high up in the air and then, gets hit with a chokeslam. Just, something I noticed. But anyways, so Cena gets hit with a chokeslam, but then Ambrose hits the double arm DDT on Kane. And then after that, Randy goes ahead and uppercuts Ambrose, and then Ambrose goes ahead and bounces off the ropes like he does before doing his clothesline. But once he bounces off the ropes and comes back, Randy catches him with an RKO out of nowhere. Just thought I'd add that in. And Randy covers Ambrose and wins the match for his team. Now, surprisingly, after the match was over and after Randy pinned Ambrose, out of nowhere, Seth Rollins, man, there's a lot of out of nowheres in this show, but yeah, Seth Rollins goes ahead and hits a curb stomp on Randy. So he hits him with a curb stomp, and then he yells at Randy, and now everybody's down. Kane's down, Cena's down, Randy's down. They're all down except for Seth Rollins, who is the only one standing tall. And then they go to replay, and they, show the replays of the matchup while Seth Rollins climbs up the cell, and he celebrates on top of the Hell in a Cell as everybody else is laid out inside the ring. And that ends the show. So what did I think about tonight's show? I thought it was an okay show. Really, the highlights for me were all in the main events. The main event, in my opinion, was the best part of the show, especially the ending. And I really feel like we'll see Randy turning face sometime soon. Might not be, in a month, might not be in 2 months, but I think we'll see him turning face maybe before WrestleMania. And I want to see how that goes. Because, I can see, confrontation between Seth Rollins and Randy. I can see a match between the two. Also, when Ambrose got tagged in there towards the end, he was really on fire, like I said. He beat up everybody. He used a bunch of kendo sticks on Randy, beat up Kane with a steel chair, dropkick Rollins into the cell, clothesline Randy. It was pretty damn cool. But, yeah, in the end, Randy reigns supreme. Well, kind of, after the match, of course, Seth Rollins was the one to reign supreme with that curb stomp. But, Randy won the match for his team with the RKO. Another highlight for me was Damien Mizdow picking up the win against Sheamus. That was a surprise. I was expecting Sheamus to win via Brogue kick first team, or the Usos to hit a top rope splash. Was definitely not expecting Mizdow out of anybody in the match to, you know, score a victory from Sheamus out of, you know, all the people in the matchup. Maybe against, you know, one of the Usos or something, but I didn't see him picking up a win against Sheamus. So that was pretty cool. Also, with the new stipulation of Randy versus Cena being for the #1 contendership, while Triple H did say that they would get an opportunity against, you know, the champion Brock Lesnar, I'm not sure if it's going to be actually at Survivor Series, because he didn't mention when it was going to be. He didn't say it was going to be at Survivor Series, which is the next pay-per-view. So I don't know if we'll see Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, or maybe even TLC or the Rumble. So I'm not sure when that title match is going to take place. But also, with that stipulation added, I think now there's a bigger chance of Cena and Randy closing out the show, but I'm still hoping that Seth Rollins and Ambrose inside Hell in a Cell closes out the show. I guess we'll find out, you know, on Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Now, as far as a rating for tonight's show, I'd give it a somewhere around 6.5 to 7 on 10. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, you can click that like button down below, and I'd greatly appreciate it. And stay tuned for tomorrow. Tomorrow, I will post up the first episode of my new WWE Supercard series. So stay tuned for that if you like the Supercard videos. And I'm out. See you guys.